Hello, just wanted to do a quick video to give some possible synopsis pointers on our trip to Cairo and Giza pyramids. We had a wonderful time. We've been here, I guess, 7 nights now. Originally it was going to be 6, but we had some issues where because of COVID, Switzerland wouldn't let us in and we got rerouted. We had a long layover plan there that just didn't work, but ended up being great overall. These are always one take videos. This time I made a few notes because I'm just dog tired and didn't want to ramble too bad. One thing my wife wanted to mention, like when we were in China, toilet paper in the bathrooms is not always found. So not a bad idea to have some tissues in your purse or pocket to be able to have that available if you need it. There are, when you're stuck in traffic, people selling tissues. So if you do forget some, maybe make someone's day and buy some of that and have some available for you. The biggest mistake I made overall on this trip is not buying a SIM card at the airport. My intention was to do so. I was pretty sure AT&T would not work here, and when we got here, I tried to turn it on to see how much it was cost and got a flat line like AT&T is dead. So we got in the airport pretty late, and again, frazzled because of everything being rerouted. I spent hours at Frankfurt airport wondering if I was even going to be allowed on the plane to come here. We made it and ended up booking the Le Méridien hotel to just rest, and I thought, well, in the morning I'll go over to the airport and buy a SIM card, and then I thought, well, I'll just be able to find someone once we get to our hotel in Giza, which we stayed at the Marriott Mina house there, which was wonderful. We ended up one night at the Le Méridien airport. If you get in at 1 o'clock in the morning or really late, to me, the value proposition, it was 12,500 points to stay at the Le Méridien, rest up after the long flight, not drive through to Giza, an hour drive in the middle of the night chaos, was well worth it if you're on your own. And to speak to that point, if you're not someone who's really comfortable in winging it, if you're coming to Egypt, it probably is not a bad idea to do a group tour thing than just playing it by ear like we did. We had a great time. I don't regret anything besides the SIM card. But a flexible group tour to put someone at ease, having a little more security, might have been nice. It wasn't so bad, the chaos, as far as getting hounded and harassed in Cairo as it was at the pyramids area. The pyramids area was like anything I've ever seen, and I've traveled all over, lived in the Philippines for a few years, so won't begin to say I've seen it all. I definitely have not, but I've seen enough to be able to reference that the pyramid harassment is out of this world. Some good, some bad. My wife has blonde hair, blue eyes. I think there are a lot of people that probably come from other parts of Egypt to see the pyramids and were just blown away by that, not something they see where they're from, so we got hounded like we sometimes do with picture taking, which gets old after a while, but is also kind of flattering and fun. But Wi-Fi is very difficult to find. Uber in Cairo is phenomenal, but of course you need Wi-Fi or a SIM card. Since we didn't have a SIM card, we kept having to use locations as a reference point. But with Uber, much more than taxi, there's a level of safety. Uber, you feel like there has to be some level of checking people out. I think anybody can hop in a taxi and drive it. If you go with the Comfort, which is twice as much, but it's still incredibly cheap. I don't think we've paid more than $5 for a Uber. They've done at a minimum 5,000 rides, at least in what we experienced, and there's a better chance they speak some English and they know where they're going. So we went to the Bazaar by Uber today. And when the guy dropped us off, he said, "Good luck," which kind of made me a little bit nervous. On the way back, we had someone help us track down a cab, and the cab driver got on a bridge and stopped to try to find someone to give him directions to the Marriott, which is not where we were staying, but like I said, we've used that as a reference point because I thought everyone knew where that was. That we've said the St. Regis multiple times and nobody knew where that was. So I kind of have used the Marriott as a reference point to get on their Wi-Fi, to Uber, if we've had to take a cab from place to place. When we got to the bazaar, honestly, it was a little intimidating. We got there too early in the morning for a lot to be open, and I don't think we got dropped off at probably where tourists get dropped off, and I felt completely out of place. Had a guy come up to us in pretty good English and say he wasn't a tour guide, but he worked at the mosque and had a break and wanted to help us out and practice his English. Well, I knew from experience here that that was likely. Con is too strong a word, but he had hopes of getting something from us at the end. We ended up just rolling with it. I knew what was going on, but he put a level of comfort. His English was phenomenal. And he showed us all through this bazaar, took us up into the city gates, brokered a cab. I gave him, I feel like a nice tip at the end since nothing was negotiated or decided, and he said, you know, he wasn't a tour guide. He seemed happy with it, which made me feel good because tipping here is really bizarre. Like, we've had my tipping has been pretty consistent. On some things we've done, I've tipped 100% and had people get mad and want more. So I think to some people the game is to make you feel bad and try to get more. My wife joked, give half what you're expecting, and then when they get mad, double it up. But that was much more so in the pyramids area. We did some things there maybe we shouldn't have, just being adventurous. In Cairo, that hasn't been quite the case, but there still has been some level of grabbing us and try to get us to take us off somewhere. That's happened. Like I said, at the bazaar, I am so glad that happened. It worked out well for us. We got some great video. If I knew how to flip and edit, I could tie it in here like so many people do, but some people just kind of like the off-the-cuff remarks. I honestly, coming here, had no idea what to expect. I was a little nervous, a little intimidated, not enough to do much research because I was just planning to wing it when I got here, but the overwhelming response we've got from people has been kindness and positivity. Smile at people, they smile back. I was worried there might be a little bit of negative American sentiment, and I'm sure that does exist here in places, but it's not something we ever, literally ever encountered, and we've kind of ventured all around. We've stayed the whole time on points. The points value here is incredible at the St. Regis. It's been 35,000 points a night. I think the room rate is around 700 something. So the value of the points is tremendous. At the Marriott Mina House, it was 25,000 points. The hotel there wasn't quite as expensive, but we're right at the literal pyramids view. From the hotel, you can walk to the pyramids to it. So we spent one night at the hotel, at the airport, 3 nights at the Marriott Mina House, 3 nights here at St. Regis. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it any differently than that. It was perfect. We got to see a lot of everything. I would say safety-wise, luxury-wise, what have you, I don't think the St. Regis can be topped for the Cairo area. The one thing that's a downside for me is there's not really anything to walk to from here. So if you were staying at the Marriott here, you can easily walk right across the street to the Nile Maxim, which I recommend that highly as a Nile kind of entertainment tour. They got the light dancing guy, they had singing, they had a belly dancer. The food was not great, but there's not a charge to get on the boat. Basically, you got to spend $50 on food and drink minimum a person, and then you're good. But overall, that was a really good experience, but it was very stressful. I mean, it is not 2 miles from the St. Regis. Everywhere you go here, the traffic is such that inevitably you're going to take a U-turn into what should be 3 lanes of traffic, but is 6. And so we almost felt like we were gonna miss the boat, giving an hour and a half to get there. It took almost an hour. The traffic was so bad. That was the worst experience we've had with timing on the traffic, but you kind of have to account for that wherever you go. But also from the Marriott Hotel, you can walk to an area of cafes, restaurants, a little bit of shopping, not a ton. That felt really safe to walk around at night and daytime. We walked through there. If the Nile Ritz-Carlton is somewhere we also used as a Wi-Fi spot to catch an Uber, because that's kind of what we had to do, is like if we went to a destination, I didn't have cell service like an idiot, so we had to walk to somewhere where I knew I could get on their Wi-Fi and catch an Uber. But at the Nile Ritz-Carlton, you can walk to the old museum. If you're pressed for time and don't know which museum to go to, definitely, of course, until the new museums opens by the pyramids, but definitely go to the Museum of Ancient Civilization versus the museum downtown. We had people tell us that, but I didn't really understand what they were saying or why. But yes, you can walk to that museum from the Nile Ritz-Carlton, but it's kind of a big letdown. Like, so many things on display and people having complete access to them, touching them, sitting on them, leaning on them, but the descriptions were very, very limited. Whereas at the Museum of Ancient Civilization, very good descriptions of everything you're looking at in English. And really, it's not that big. You could allot 2 hours of time to go there and see it all at a fine pace and then do other things through the day, which is what we did. I think that's really all the points I'd like to make. I know for me, my wife has always wanted to see the pyramids, and I've always told her I just didn't feel safe. I wasn't going to do it. But it's been a bucket list item for her. The older I get, I'm like, why not? And we met a couple at a trip we were on recently, and they told us that they actually went here and rented a car and drove all around and what have you. And I thought to myself, if they can do that, I can flip and go there and take Ubers and take tours, although we ended up really not doing any tours. I may regret that a little bit, because if we had done a tour, because the things don't take a lot of time, we probably could have taken a day where we saw a bunch of stuff. But you know, the tours are all private tours, and so when you go to Viator or something like that, the prices say starting at, and then when you put in 2, the price goes up like 5-fold. And for my comfort level, I kind of felt like, especially because some of the aggressiveness with the tipping we had in the pyramid area, felt like I'm just gonna wing it and get to what we want to see and figure it out from there. If there had been the opportunity to get on like a big bus and go on a big tour stopping at a lot of places, I probably would have been comfortable doing that, but I don't think those exist except for if you're here on a pre-all arranged tour where everything's arranged for you, which I think the vast majority of people here are doing. But overall, if you have the opportunity to come here, I'd highly recommend it. We've had a wonderful time. My wife has felt like a rock star. I don't know if we're gonna be able to fit her head through a door when we get home. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Put them in the comments. I'll have a lot of other Egypt videos I'm going to be dropping, and we do travel a lot. If you feel like subscribing, this is just a fun thing for me. It's not a money thing. And I do plan to discuss a little bit more of how I make the points decisions going forward. I've had some people requesting that. But anyways, thank you very much for watching.